Hi guys, Sarah here and welcome to Novel Expectations. Today I'm coming to you with my May 2016 book haul. So I have a couple books to talk about. I have piles sitting here on the floor beside me of all the books I've bought literally in the last few weeks. The last week and a bit of May. So yeah, and all of them are print books, so this is super exciting. So I'm going to jump right into it so this does not take forever. So the first two books I want to talk about, I stopped at Chapters Indigo about 2 weeks ago and went in looking specifically for this book, which is The Nest by Cynthia Daxbris. I hope I'm saying your name right. Sweeney. And this is a New York Times bestseller. It was on 40% off, so I picked this one up. I'm currently in the middle of reading it. I'm really enjoying it. So yeah, I picked up this one, and then while I was there, I was looking around at the bargain bins, because why not? And I came across this book. It's called The Moment of Everything by Shelley King. Isn't that cover adorable? Like, the cover totally got to me. I think this was $5. But anyway, what this story is about, it's about a woman who had a job in that whole .com Silicon Valley kind of environment, and she lost her job. So she started working at a used bookstore, and this used bookstore has a book club that meets, I guess, every month. So the book that they are going to be reading is Lady Chatterley's Lover. And so she grabs off the stacks of this used bookstore a copy of the book, and she's reading through it with her book club. And in the margins are love letters back and forth between this couple from many years ago. So now she's trying to find, what happened to this couple, essentially. And it sounded just so cute and right up my alley, a nice sweet romance novel, so I'm really looking forward to eventually getting to this one. But yes, I just love the cover. I just think it's so adorable. So a couple days after that, I ended up at a thrift store, and you guys know me, I love me a good thrift store. And I actually bought a really cute skirt and top as well, but I found these books, so I decided to grab them. These are all Harlequin romances, so, something a little bit fun. So I got Harlequin Historical, Rebel with a Heart by Carol Arns. I always like the Westerns. Duets. This was one of my favorite, categories in Harlequin. They're no longer published, and it kind of upsets me a little bit because these were some of my favorites. This is a Harlequin Duets novel, and there's 2 novels in one with these books, and they're romantic comedies, and they're fantastic. So in this one is Life is a Beach and A Real Thing Fling, say that 3 times fast, by Pamela Browning. I'm just really like even the covers are whimsical. I just love these. So I'm really looking forward to reading this one too. The next one, Snowbound by Janice K. Johnson, a Harlequin super romance. Another Harlequin historical, Secrets at Court by Blythe Gifford. This is a medieval historical romance. And last but not least, Special Agent's Perfect Cover by Marie Farinella. And this is a Harlequin romantic suspense. So these are more suspenseful romance novel. So yeah, looking forward to getting to those. So last weekend, if you watched my weekly wrap-up from this week, I was saying how a friend of mine came up last weekend, which is why I didn't have a wrap-up and all that stuff. And her and I went to go visit another friend in London, Ontario, and we went to this awesome flea market. And in this flea market was a woman who sold books. She had over 10,000 books on these shelves. It was unbelievable. And if you asked her for a book, and if she had it, she knew exactly where to find it. It was awesome. If I lived closer, I would be there every single weekend, probably spending all the money I have on books. But anyway, I found some, and I always like to snag my back to my childhood books when I come across them, because sometimes they are few and far between. So I got a stack of Sweet Valley Twins books, which is the Sweet Valley High books, but the twins when they're in middle school. So I got Booster Boycott, number 52. Jessica's Secret, number 42. Put these down here. Brooke and Her Rockstar Mom, book number 55. The Slime That Ate Sweet Valley, number 53. Poor Lila, number 63. These were 50 cents each. Come on. Sarah's Dad and Sophie's Mom, number 62. Jessica the Nerd, number 61. Elizabeth the Impossible, number 51. and one that actually made me squeal because I totally remember reading this book when I was young. And this is The Unicorns Go Hawaiian, and it's a special edition. And I just, I can't wait to reread this. It's going to be so much fun. So those are the Back to My Childhood books, and the only Back to My Childhood books in this haul. So I'm just going to put those over here. So the other two books that I got at this store, one is called Santa Baby, and this is an anthology of 3 novellas by Jennifer Crusie, Laurie Foster, and Carly Phillips. These are Christmas-themed novellas, romantic suspense, romance novellas, and yeah, and Christmas and romance, they kind of go together, you know what I mean? And the last book that I got was the newest Susan Wiggs. I think it's the newest in the Lakeshore Chronicle series, and it's Starlight at Willow Lake. It's now in paperback. It is a used copy, doesn't bother me in the least. I picked it up for $2, and yeah, I just love this series. I read earlier this year Summer at Willow Lake, which was the first book, and The Winter Lodge, which was the second book. So now I've got the last book. I think this is book 12, so I've got a little bit of catching up to do. So yeah, really love this series. So I also have now placed a couple of Book Outlet orders. I've now kind of become obsessed with Book Outlet. Yeah, especially since I'm starting to actually collect more physical copies of books and not just ebooks. So I grabbed 2 books that looked interesting, and I'd been looking for them in a lot of places, but they were all relatively expensive. And I mean, I wanted them, but I was going to have to wait to be paying that kind of money. So essentially I got both these books, shipping included, for what it would have cost me for one of them. So I think that's totally legit. So the first book that I got is called Shakespeare's Pub, a barstool history of London as seen through the windows of its oldest pub, the George Inn. And this is by Pete Brown. I'd heard about this book somewhere else, or maybe it was like on Goodreads that I'd read something and it said if you like this, you'll like this. This sounded like so much fun to me. I am such a history buff that, you know, this just completely appealed to me. I thought it sounded really fun, so I had to snag it, and it was really well priced. Like this one, I'm not sure if it's out of print or not, but it was harder to find, and it is in pristine condition, so I'm very happy about that. And the next one I got is called Missoula. This is not exactly, you know, the feel-good book of the year, but I'm really excited about reading this. It's Missoula, Rape and the Justice System in a College Town by John Krakauer. Hope I'm saying his name right. This is a subject that is meaningful to me. Meaningful, I don't think is the word I'd be using. I can identify with the subject matter of this book without getting too much into it. Pretty much in this book, what he does is the Department of Justice investigated 350 sexual assaults reported to the Missoula police between January of 2008 and May of 2012. So essentially what he's doing is investigating why there are so many in this college town, why there are so many rapes in general in college towns, and he interviews different victims. People who have come forward, people who haven't come forward, like, and gone to the police, people who have taken their assailant to court, people who have not. You know, I mean, he gets a wide variety in here. Again, not exactly the most feel-good book of the year, but I think this is a great social issue, and I'm really looking forward to reading this. And then my husband and I placed an order with Amazon. He got Funko Pops, I got books. So I'm totally excited about all of these. The first one I got is Hanging Mary by Susan Higginbotham. I love that cover. Isn't that gorgeous? Now, I talked about this book in a video earlier this year when it was a coming soon video, and that this book was coming out. And essentially what this book is about is this widow, her name is Mary, who runs a boarding house, and John Wilkes Booth stays in that boarding house. So it's an alternate history, essentially, of the Lincoln assassination. And again, history buff, right up my alley. Really looking forward to this one. The next one, also a New York Times bestseller right now, I believe, The Little Paris Bookshop by Nina George. This one just looks so adorable, and that cover is just stunning. This is, I believe, about a gentleman who has a bookstore, and he travels all over Paris with this bookstore, I think. I don't know. Really, I read the synopsis, and it sounded really good, but I have read a lot of synopsis in the last little while, and I can't for the life of me remember what this one's about. But I'm sure it's about a gentleman and a bookstore in Paris. And last but not least, A Tyranny of Petticoats, edited by Jessica Spotswood. This is 15 stories of belles, bank robbers, and other badass girls. This is young adult. Now, you guys know I am not a young adult fan, but I've heard a lot of other booktubers talking about this one, and it sounded like a lot of fun. And it's YA, but it takes place in the Wild West. And historical Western is like my end-all be-all favorite. So this one really sounded good. I've heard some people saying some of the stories aren't that great, but that's what happens with anthologies. You're always going to get some that are better and some that are not. Not all of them are going to be, your cup of tea essentially. But I had to pick this one up because it sounded like a lot of fun, and I'm really, really looking forward to diving into it. And the beauty part about a YA book is that unlike an adult book, the spacing is bigger, the words tend to be bigger, larger margins, larger margins. So I should be able to get through this one really quickly. And it's a gorgeous hardcover, so I had to have it. I know a lot of other booktubers talk about like the in pages and stuff, but yeah, I just like having a book, and I just think it's super pretty. And last but not least, I placed another book outlet order. And book outlet in Canada is literally an hour's drive from me. I could drive. Now that I know where the store is, I plan on making a pilgrimage this summer. So to actually go to it in St. Catharines, which would be super exciting. But the beauty part is that I can place an order. I placed an order on Friday, and they were at my door on Tuesday. I mean, that's fantastic. So the books that I got this time around were The Friday Night Knitting Club by Kate Jacobs. This is a story about, I think it's 4 women in, and one of them owns a knitting store in New York City, and how they all get together and, deal with their everyday lives, essentially. I am a big knitter. It is, it's my other hobby. Next to reading, knitting is it for me. And if I don't have a book in my hands, I have knitting needles in my hands. So yeah, this one really, I started reading it a couple years ago, but I don't know why I put it down, but I'm really looking forward to jumping back into it. And speaking of knitting, the other book that I got, and this one was such a deal, it's called All Wound Up, The Yarn Harlot Writes for a Spin by Stephanie Pearl McPhee. She is Canadian. I believe she lives in Toronto, and she is quite famous within the knitting community. I got this book for $1.50 Canadian on Book Outlet, okay? So definitely check it out. It's a cute little hardcover book. It's not very big. What they are essentially is she writes essays, and she has a blog called The Yarn Harlot. So check it out if you're interested, if you're a knitter. And she talks about knitting and her life and her family. And she's so funny, and I'm just really looking forward to rereading this one. And the last book that I have to talk about. This is a little bit of a departure from the other couple books I was just mentioning. But this is called In the Kingdom of Ice, The Grand and Terrible Polar Voyage of the USS Jeannette. And this is by Hampton Sides. This book was recommended to me by a friend who is also a knitter and an avid reader. And she read this book last year, I think. Her name's Jeannette, and the reason she read it is because it's the USS Jeannette. So she thought that was kind of fun, but she said the story was really, really good. It's a historical novel. It is a fiction novel. Non-fiction novel. Yes, non-fiction. And it's pretty much about this ship and it's sailing to, I think, the North Pole. So, yeah, a little bit of a departure, but it's still a historical novel, and you guys know how much I love historical novels. Now, as you've noticed, I've picked up a lot of physical books in the last little while. The reason behind that is because of Summer Bingo, which I talked about a little bit in my wrap-up video earlier this week, and my next video that you guys are going to see on Friday is going to be my TBR for my Summer Bingo. A lot of these books, or most of these books, you are going to see on that TBR, but I'm going to tell you how I'm fitting them each into the categories that I got on my bingo card. So anyway, guys, that is it. Please let me know if you've read any of these books and what you thought about them. And until my next video, take care and happy reading. Bye, guys.